to week 6 of the Bill Nees's Coaches Show. I'm your host, Chip Hare, and with us is Coach Bill Nees. And before we move into festivities of this week, certainly want to cover on how the Indians did. Big 36-20 win over a deceitful record, and Xenia, a very athletic Xenia team, and a good win in the crossover GWAC game.
It was. They came out in the first half and had a plan that they were going to go a little unbalanced, and they were going to bring an extra offensive lineman in, and they kind of muscled us a little bit and went down the field that first drive. And then I think from that point, once our offense got on board and started moving the ball, it was not quite what they had in mind then to be able to just punch it out, the whole game. They, running the clock down, the 25-second clock, they were bringing it down to about 1 or 2 seconds. So it looked obviously like they were going to
control the pace of the game.
Yeah, they're going to slow the game down, the anti-no huddle. And like I said, I think it worked for a little bit, but as soon as our offense perked up and started going, then they could no longer do that. Once the ball started going outside, and once they started having the quarterback keep it and throw it a little bit, we were able to intercept him. We were able to use our speed a little bit to our advantage. But if it would have been a tight game, if it would have continued into that David and Goliath thing, who knows what might have happened.
Well, I think you bring a point up that should be talked about, and that is sticking through in a game where they're coming in, they got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
They're coming into our place, and obviously everyone's geeked up to play the Indians when particularly here. But our guys had to fight through some adversity. They did have control of the momentum of the game early on, and we just kept fighting and sticking to the game plan.
They did. There's a thing around here that we talk about quite a bit, and that is in the middle of the third quarter. Probably 80% of the games either made or not made in the middle of the third quarter for some reason. And right about the middle of that third quarter, we were still fresh. And it's starting to catch on now that they had 2 or 3 offensive linemen that had to play defense too. And we were throwing the ball, they were rushing the quarterback upfield, they were really getting winded, a little tired. We were able to rotate because we're pretty deep on the defensive line. So I think we were able to do that, and I think that's kind of when it wore down a little bit. We caught them on 2 big plays, and they had done well over the course of the year relying on their big plays. So I think we hit them with a couple of them. And it's not an offense, it's a comeback offense. It's an offense that's grinded out, right, et cetera, et cetera. And so once we got in that position, I thought we were all right.
A couple of big plays you talked about it. You couldn't help it. If we don't talk about Hayden Trum today, shame on us. I mean, he had an outstanding game both on both sides of the ball. Obviously on the offensive side with the touchdown passes he caught, but he come up with some big plays defensively as well.
He had 2 major plays running the alley on an option. He also had a great interception on a play-action pass that really didn't fool anybody, and he was sitting back there waiting for it. So that was probably that was his overall best game as an offensive and defensive player.
Yeah, he's really evolved. We talked about him on the onset of the season. He just continues to grow, as does our other team. Talk a little bit about our offensive line. Ben Bynum goes down, and we talked about this on the Coaches Show last week. Really had we had somebody step up big for us this week.
Yeah, we did. Riley Hill came back from being injured last week, and him and Bynum had been the starters, and he was able to come back. And in the meantime, the unsung hero kind of is Zane Arbogast, and the fact that there's certain nights where he walks in and we say, Zane, you got to play both ways. And we have now developed enough depth where we can give him a break on defense. And it used to be the other way around. We could give him a break on offense. Now we've got more depth on defense, so he was able to get out maybe 3 or 4 or 5 series during the course of that game, which was outstanding. And once he starts gelling now with the rest of those offensive linemen, with Riley and Big Lem on that side are 275 and probably 295. And then we've got Clarkey over on the other side rolling in about 295. So we've got some good girth going around on that side of the ball.
Story of that game, I guess, if you look at it, a lot of things is we made plays when we had to make plays on both sides of the ball. Yeah. We didn't panic, and we really, I think our conditioning stayed through, and that's why we won the ball game.
I think so, and the other big thing is to overcome that kickoff return. We were in pretty good shape, and everything was getting ready to move, and then we allowed them to return a kickoff for a touchdown, and it just seemed like, wait a minute, let's rewind that and start again, because we didn't really do that. And from that, for the rest of the game, we didn't allow a kickoff outside the 20-yard line, which was outstanding. But for some reason, they really hit 2 of our guys. They really got them kind of on a blindside block. It was a legal block, blindside block, and then we had a third guy that got up the field a little slow and just created a seam, opened it up, and the guy went right through.
Indians at the end come up victorious and win 36-20. Coach wouldn't be would be right if we did not mention it, of course, before the game, honored 25 years of coaching here at Piqua. I'm sure, as we talked a little bit before, I'm sure that was a little bittersweet in the sense that, hey, we wanted to address that, but we also had a football game to play. But you had a lot of nice acknowledgments from former players and coaches that came back that you played with or coached with.
Yeah, it was good. It was good, and it was good to see everybody. You know, probably the biggest comment that I had for former players is, I can't believe you're doing this before a game. I've never thought in a million years you would allow this to happen. And you know, I said, you know, I didn't think that I would either, but you only get to the 25-year point one time. A lot of people wanted to, you know, to get this thing going. I think it was enough to make it work, but not enough that it became a distraction for everybody. And I think that's so important. So we got it through, and it was nice to see a bunch of people.
Coach, it's Sydney week. We are now through the halfway point. We're at the halfway point of the season. We've gotten through our non-league. We've gotten through the second piece of the season, which is our G-Walk. Now it is into the conference, into the division play. Mm-hmm. And what better way to start that off with than our rival from the north, Sydney, battered helmet. A lot going on in the league. Obviously, they're 5-0, ranked in the state. Boy, what an exciting Friday night it's going to be here at Alexander Stadium.
It's going to be massive. It's going to be great. You know, Sydney's you know, had this team kind of coming for last year, and I think last year they had some injuries that kind of slowed them down a little bit. I think this year everything's rocking, you know, and rolling at a pace that they like. They've gone out and they're just putting up tons of numbers. You know, they switched their defense, and I think that, you know, they're getting into that defense, and they're really establishing themselves in that defense. Special teams, they've always been solid with their special teams. So I think this is a big year for them. You know, this is a year they've pointed, you know, to for a long time, and everybody's got that year, you know, where they say, okay, this is, if it's ever going to happen, it's going to be this year. And I think this is the, you know, what the, you know, City Yellow Jackets are thinking right now.
Let's talk a little bit more specifically as to what we're going to see. Obviously, they've got some. Everyone talks about their Division I seniors that are going. You know, the running back and their linemen, and of course, the junior quarterback. What are we going to see from them? What can the Indian Nation expect to see from the Jackets?
Well, it'll be the first time in 3 weeks that we've seen an even front defense. So number one, they're going to run an even front defense. They press their two corners up, not really a bump and run, but more of a press, you know, on the outside, and then just play everything, you know, in a 4-3 type look in the middle, or sometimes a little bit of a 4-4. On offense, they run a spread offense. They've kind of run a little bit of what Lima Senior used to run, and they've kind of made it their own flavor, so to speak. They'll run zone read. They bring a guy in to play H-back, and he moves around and, you know, kind of gets into a lead type role with the H-back look. And then they've got 2 or 3 guys out there that can get on the flank, and they can just whip you know, a bubble screen or a stop to any of those guys and get people out in front of them, and just make the field feel way bigger than what it actually is.
From the rivalry perspective, we've talked about this through the years. The Sydney game is big in a lot of ways for Sydney, for the Piqua. I should say the Piqua game to Sydney has always been big. For our kids, it has grown, and they have seen that, hey, this game matters, not just normal, but they know that this is a different magnitude for the battered helmet. It's a series that Piqua we've owned very well. Again, like you said, the last couple of years, they have started to turn that around. Of course, we win last year at their place. From our kids' perspective, what do you see that's any different in terms of the energy level that our kids have for this ball?
Well, they're receptive, you know, to any type of you know, any type of rivalry, anything. You know, the great thing about this team is you can just, you know, say, hey, you know, 2 weeks ago, hey, we're playing for the 2-2 trophy. You know, and it was like, yeah, hey, 2-2 trophy, and they pick up on it and go. So something like this that's real is amazing. You know, they embrace it. They want to participate in it. They want to do well. They know people are going to be here. Eyes are going to be on you. We'll probably have the TV crews out here again, like we had for Trotwood, like we had for Franklin. So it's something that you embrace, and something that you want to use as a motivator. You know, everybody can always use a little extra, you know, energy source, a little extra motivation, and why not? It's perfect.
Well, it'll be good football for Friday, good football for both communities. I know both communities will come out. It will be an electric atmosphere. It will be certainly a good way to get the G-Walk North Division. And on paper, we're talking about 2 teams. A lot of people are saying, hey, they're going to be in the thick of it for a potential championship. It's one game at a time. I know you've said that since the beginning of the year, and again, it's just one game at a time.
It's one game at a time, but you know, it's a great start. You want to get off to a good start, and for our people, you know, we've got a battered helmet. We got the possibilities of being 4-2, which is very important for us right now. and we want to be able to get that. And the only way to be 4-2 is to keep that battered helmet here.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about seniors. Tonight we're going to be talking to Holden Yount and Derek Height, two guys who have been a part of the program and for a long time, put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it. Talk a little about, first let's talk about Holden. Obviously there's a legacy within his family. He continues to keep going, and he just puts his heart and soul into everything.
He does, and he's been a long snapper for us for the last 3 years, and he's grown into that role, and that's something he pretty much has ownership over, and he does his job well. He has not had a bad snap all year, and as a matter of fact, he got rough this past week and got us 15 extra yards on an extra point. So he's a great kid. He comes in the weight room. He does everything. He doesn't walk in and go, hey, I'm a long snapper, I don't have to lift. He does everything everybody else does in terms of running. And last week, as a matter of fact, last week he was our scout team player of the week because he was Xenia's fullback, and he just ran dive right, dive left, midline, and he was taking some shots. And we weren't teeing off on him, but we had to get our head across and get a shoulder on him. And he did a very nice job. He was awarded 5 helmet dots this week for his role as Scout Team Player of the Week.
Well, certainly knowing a good example for others, particularly young guys, to help get things done.
Yeah.
On the other side, Derek Height, both sides of the ball, plays a very important role. Obviously, he's been getting some college looks.
Yeah, he has.
It's been Buddy's been fighting the injury bug, but again, Aguirre's a guy that doesn't complain. He just keeps showing up and doing what he's supposed to do.
Well, right now he's in full stride. He was first team All-League as a sophomore and led the conference in quarterback sacks. Had a huge amount of attention from colleges. Last year he tore his ACL second game of the season, so there was no real film of him. So a lot of colleges still knew him. In the meantime, he grew, he got bigger, he got stronger, everything was set, and came back from the knee injury well. Had to battle the shoulder thing at the beginning of the year, but right now he is on a skyrocket. His angle up is very steep, and he has played as good a football as I've seen him play, as a defensive end around here has played in a long time.
Comes back also after the ACL tear. He gets a torn labrum and has braced that thing up, and I know that thing pops out every now and then. I understand it's not popped out the last couple of games. But again, there's a guy that just puts his head down and puts team first. Yeah,
and he's in the weight room. He's strengthening the muscles around there, and he's doing everything he needs to do. And every week 2 new colleges come in and put their hat in the ring. And so the kids, his upside is incredible. As he's that guy that's now catching fire week 3. He's a senior film guy, and everybody's loving his senior film, and it's getting out and getting around. So we've got him. I think Ben's going to make a decision here coming up pretty soon as to what he's going to do, and then Hayden and a couple other guys have some Division II offers and everything. So we'll see how all that goes.
We have not to divert the conversation, but we've had in the last few years we've had quite a few guys been moving on to the next level, so to speak, whether it be Division II or Division I, and it's I think it's a testimony to obviously to the program, but I think to the guys that put the work in outside of the season.
And the thing I like is when they get there, they're doing well. They're not getting there and not doing anything. They're getting there, and Tristan's making some significant contributions. I know Nate just dressed. He's starting to already make the travel squad, and Darian, once he gets back from his knee, I guarantee he'll be a contributor.
The Indians continue to make waves on Saturday afternoons, and we know you're being humble, but we know Al Nees is continuing to do his thing up at Ashland, and they're going to continue to get better.
Yeah, well, they just had a huge game. Big Al and the Eagles just had a huge game last night. They beat the number 2 team in the nation, Ferris State.
Whoa.
Knocked them off 20-3. So there was some celebrating over in Ashland, Ohio, Saturday night. So yeah, Al and Ashland are having a great year. Probably looking at a playoff year for them.
Fantastic. Well, we certainly know that the Indians will be well represented on Saturday. But before that happens, we know Friday night the Indians look forward to taking care of business and getting off to a good start against the City Jackets.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough one. It's going to be a rough one, but I think our guys are ready. I think they know what they need to do to get this thing done. I think it's pretty obvious in everybody's mind. It's crystal clear. It's
going to be a good one. And we'll be back for the second part of our coaches show. We will talk to Holden Yount. We will talk to also Derek Height. But remember, Friday night, 7 o'clock kickoff here at Alexander Stadium. First game of the GWAC North Division. It will be the Sydney Yellow Jackets and the Pickle Indians playing for the battered helmet and also for that first game in the GWalk North. Let's come back for the second half and let's talk to Derek and Holden. Welcome to the second half of the Bill Nees' Coaches Show. I'm your host, Chip Hare, and with us is our senior feature portion of the program, Holden Yount and Mr. Derek Height. Guys, welcome to the Bill Nees' Coaches Show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Rumor is that you guys talk a lot, so we're interested to hear how that's going to go today. Derek, talk us a little bit about your position, your positions that you play, because you play both offense and defense.
On defense, I'm a defensive end, and offense, I play tight end.
How has that been for you? I mean, you're Derek. You're coming in, obviously. For some that pay attention and watch, you're coming off of a year that tore your ACL your junior year into the second game of the season, fought back, got back into healthy play, and in the summer you ran into another injury. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I was at a camp, Eastern Kentucky, and we were doing one-on-one drills, and I went to go inside and just gave out. Went to the doctor.
What gave out?
Shoulder.
The shoulder gave out, okay.
Popped out, and I knew something was wrong, but wasn't quite sure. I went and got it checked out and had a torn labrum.
So torn labrum sounds pretty serious, and you're going to have to get surgery on it. However, they've braced you up, right? And you've been able to play with it.
Yeah, it's been fine. It's popped out 6 or 7 times, but it's playable.
To the normal person, now last year Nate Monaghan had the same situation, and his popped out. I heard understand once a game. Last 2 games it's not popped out, which has been good for you, but that brace is really tight, and it limits your movement, right?
Yeah, definitely.
How does that, in terms of your play, does that really impact how you feel like you can play in terms of full capacity?
Nah, not really. I try not to think about it. I just try to keep the play through it, but messes up my breathing sometimes because tight it is. But
well, it certainly hasn't messed up your playing because you've been good on both sides of the ball, and certainly have helped the win. The Indians get 2 wins here in a row, going into playing Sydney. Before we talk about that, talk a little about the team this year. How do you feel the season has gone up to this point?
it's good. It's good. We had 2 tough losses, but we're fighting back.
2 state-ranked teams.
Definitely.
And-
Every other top 2.
And going into another state-ranked team this week in Sydney. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Let's talk to your good buddy Holden Yount. Holden, let's talk a little about your position you play.
I'm the long snapper and defensive end.
Holden, you've been a part of this program for a long time. What's it? You got a legacy with this program. Your family's been a part of this for many years. What's it like to be a part of it now that you're in the locker room and you're the one that's added to that legacy?
Well, the legacy is going to carry on throughout time, and it's very special to me being a senior this year and having my uncles and all of them play for Coach Nees. It's something special to me.
Last couple games, we've got a couple wins. What's it like now to be a part of a team that's making a run, to being a team that's in the thick of things, so to speak, for potential conference championship and potential playoff run?
Well, this team this year is really good. We're very disciplined on offense and defense, and we got to keep on playing or take one game at a time.
Highlights for you, and we'll get to your buddy Derek here, but what's been the highlights for you this year? Is it just in terms of, it could have been a moment, a game, a particular practice? What's been something that stands out so far in the 2017 campaign for you?
Not missing an extra point this year.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Keep that perfect record going. Let's talk a little bit about Sydney. We go into Sydney. Derek talked about, we're 3-2. What does that game mean to you? And obviously, you know a lot about Sydney through the years, and you talked about the family. But what does that game mean for this team right now?
It means a lot. One Friday for one Saturday. That's all that counts.
1 week at a time.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. We talked about the state-ranked team that we lost to. Now we go into another opportunity to host a state-ranked team and a rivalry game. How is that for you? I mean, it can't get much better than that.
Oh, it means a lot. The battered helmet, it's always a big game of the year, and practice hard this week and hopefully come out on top.
What can we expect in terms of energy level for our guys for that game? I mean, I know that I noticed today in school there was a little bit more of a pep to the step, and people haven't been looking behind. They're looking for what's ahead Friday night.
Yeah, we're.
Looking forward to playing the Jackets.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we look forward to seeing you guys play. Thanks for being with us. But real quick, I'd like to talk about your future. Where are you going to be a year from now? What are some things that you're looking at college-wise?
I'm looking at a few colleges right now. I just got offered from Youngstown State, so I'm going up there in a couple weeks, and hopefully I like it.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank
What are you
you.
looking to major in?
Criminal justice.
Long term, what are you thinking about doing? You got family. You got a little family
My
history.
grandpa, yeah, he's was a police officer, and that's what I'm kind of looking to go into.
Good. Well, hold on. How about yourself? What are you looking for a year from now? I mean, a lot of things going on, I'm sure, in your mind still.
Going to Edison and majoring in exercise science.
Edison's program, that is fantastic. And you won't have a far drive, will you?
No.
Guys, thanks for being with us tonight. We certainly wish you well the rest of the season, and certainly well on Friday night.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Guys, for the Bill Nees' Coaches Show, I'm your host, Chip Hare. For Holden and Derek, we'll see you Friday night, 7 o'clock. The Indians will kick off here against Sydney, here at Alexander Stadium in the first game of the G-Walk North, and of course, for the battered helmet. Again, for my two guys and myself, thanks for joining us.